You know, when a massive disaster strikes, we're all flooded with headlines, statistics, and images. But have you ever wondered what it's really like for the first responders who rush headfirst into that chaos? Well, today, we're going to open up a kind of diary. It's based on the experiences of healthcare workers on the front lines of the 2023 Turkey earthquake, and it reveals the incredible challenges they faced before, during, and even long after their mission.
So let's set the scene. The story really begins on February 6, 2023. This is when two enormous earthquakes rocked southeastern Turkey. It was an event so catastrophic, it's now considered one of the worst natural disasters in the country's modern history, and it kicked off a massive global humanitarian response.
The first quake clocked in at a staggering 7.7 on the moment magnitude scale. Now, that's not just a number. It's a measure of the raw, incredible energy that was released. This wasn't just a tremor. It was a force of nature that literally reshaped the land and changed millions of lives in an instant.
And the human cost? Well, it's just devastating. This is the official number of people who tragically lost their lives. And you have to remember, behind every single one of those numbers is a person, a family, a story just cut short in the rubble.
The sheer scale of the impact is almost impossible to wrap your head around. Over 9 million people were directly affected by this. Just try to picture it. Nearly 3 million of them were suddenly homeless, forced out into the freezing cold of winter to find safety.
But beyond these massive, almost abstract numbers, there's a deeply personal story. This is the journey of 18 specific people, physicians, nurses, and medical rescue team members who were sent right into the heart of the crisis. For them, the disaster was only just getting started.
Before they could even think about saving lives, these healthcare workers had to face their first huge hurdle, just getting there. This phase, the journey into the unknown, was filled with a ton of emotional turmoil and just profound uncertainty.
Can you imagine getting this call? You're told which province you're going to, and that's about it. All the crucial details, like how long you'll be gone, what you need to pack, even where you're going to sleep, were just a total blank. This created a huge amount of stress and anxiety before they even walked out the door.
This quote from one of the physicians just says it all. He was seeing the devastation on the news and social media, and he had just one day to get ready. He said, "I was a bit anxious. I spent that one day getting ready in a panic. I went a little bit nervously. Like so many others, he was heading into this disaster zone already completely on edge."
Okay, so what happens when they finally do arrive? Well, this is where their true test began, out on the front lines in a world just drowning in overwhelming need and nonstop crisis.
Once they got there, they were just slammed by this tidal wave of challenges. It wasn't just one thing. They were fighting on all fronts at once, against complete physical exhaustion, this crazy emotional whiplash, a serious lack of basic things like shelter and hygiene, and all of it happening inside a chaotic and often disorganized system. The sheer visual of the destruction was a shock to the system. This rescuer described it as looking like the buildings had been crumbled in the palm of someone's hand. It was just surreal and terrifying, a sight that nobody could really prepare for.
The physical toll was immediate and absolutely brutal. The number of patients was just overwhelming, and with constant aftershocks shaking the ground, sleep was basically impossible. Many of them said they worked for 3 straight days with almost no rest at all.
And what's really fascinating is the emotional roller coaster they were all on. I mean, one minute they're dealing with this crushing feeling of helplessness and sadness, plus a constant fear of aftershocks. But then mixed in with all that pain was this other powerful feeling, a deep sense of satisfaction from actually being able to help people.
Now, from an organizational standpoint, the response was a real study in contrasts. Some things actually worked pretty well. They had plenty of medical supplies, and getting patients transferred was usually fast. But there were also huge systemic failures. New teams arrived with zero orientation, there weren't enough support staff, and the distribution of doctors and nurses was so uneven that some hospitals were completely overwhelmed, while others, bizarrely, had too many people.
So after days or weeks of living this reality, their deployment would end. But leaving the disaster zone didn't mean the struggle was over. For so many, the psychological impact was just starting to bubble to the surface on that long road home.
And that really brings us to this central question. The mission itself is finished. They're physically safe, they're back home. But is the struggle really over? That emotional and psychological weight of everything they saw and did, that stays with you.
One of the most unexpected things the study found was this really complex emotional fallout. Just listen to what this physician said. Instead of feeling relief when he got back, he felt guilty. Guilt for leaving. Guilt that maybe he could have done more. And this was a surprisingly common feeling.
So it's pretty clear these emotional scars run deep. A lot of the participants talked about this urgent need for psychological support once they got back. This isn't the kind of experience you can just shake off when you step back into your normal, everyday life.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What can we actually learn from all this? Well, this final part isn't just about looking back at what happened. It's about looking forward, so we can be better prepared for the next unthinkable event.
The study lays out 4 really crucial recommendations, and each one directly tackles a problem we've talked about. First, systematic briefings, so you get rid of that crippling anxiety before they even leave. Second, structured orientations, so new teams can actually hit the ground running. Third, balanced staffing, so you avoid that ridiculous situation of some places being overwhelmed while others have too much help. And finally, and this is probably the most important one, continuous psychological support, before, during, and after, to help these responders process the trauma.
Which leaves us with one last, really vital question. We call these people heroes for running toward danger when everyone else runs away. But their diaries show us they're also human. So the real challenge for all of us is to not just celebrate their heroism, but to build a system that actually protects them, too.